welcome to Chopped Greens. I am your host, Philip Amerine, sitting alongside a very special birthday boy.
Oh, yeah, it's me, Gary Boucher. I'm 21.
You're now 21, so you can now officially drink on the podcast.
Yes.
We can now be sponsored by Budweiser.
Yes, and Guinness.
And Guinness.
You're sponsored by Guinness now. I always have one on the podcast.
Well, yes, now you do.
Yes, yeah. Now, I never have before.
Never have before.
I had a hypothetical Guinness before.
Of course,
now
of course.
Real.
And today, speaking of Guinness, we've been perusing in a little bit of London this past week. A little bit of...
I think that's a great segue.
Isn't that? It was seamless.
So where are you going?
Where are you going with Guinness? No, but we went and saw King Arthur. Londinium. Yes, let's go into that. So we saw King Arthur. What was it? The Tale of the Sword?
Legend of the Sword.
Legend of the Sword. And it stars Jude Law and Charlie Hunnam.
Yes. I like Charlie Hunnam. I'm liking what I've seen.
I know.
You know,
we've only seen him in these past two movies as major release movies, as far as Lost City of Z and now King Arthur.
Yep.
But I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him. It's
a great leading man, and he's got some real acting chops too. And he's funny. He's a great all around actor.
He's a very withdrawn actor. It's very what's the word? It's very coy. It's a very coy style of acting where he sits back and kind of just allows you, and you almost feel like he's commenting on it, and then he'll go. But when he gives it that gusto, that emphasis, that character, he does a really good job.
Yes.
So let's hear a little bit about your overall thoughts. We can dig a little bit into the story as the podcast progresses. But what were your overall thoughts? Rotten Tomatoes hated this movie, 27%. The audience score, however, was a 79%. Where were you? Were you on the critics' score?
I sit in between. It was okay. I actually expected, when I first saw the trailer, I was intrigued, and then those terrible Rotten Tomatoes scores came out, and I was like, oh boy, the critics hated it, so what am I going to think? It was alright. It was visually, I mean, you know, it's a Guy Ritchie movie. You know, this is the guy who did Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch, taking on King Arthur, which I guess is this a thing now because he did Sherlock Holmes, 5 years ago, and he took an old legend and made it all Guy Ritchie-like. I don't think this one is as good as Sherlock Holmes. I think
Sherlock Holmes was almost redefining of the genre. It really... Even that year, we saw the sequel to Sherlock Holmes and Mr. Holmes, the one with...
Ian McKellen. Totally different movie.
Different movie, because you're there, I think you almost got... and it kind of re-shows you how you feel about Guy Ritchie, because you got so used to it, or at least me, and I was like, that's kind of the Sherlock Holmes.
Guy Ritchie, he's got like techno music and these crazy montages with like jumping timelines.
Yes, and then all of a sudden you go down to serious acting with Ian McKellen, and it was just it was a bit of a jarring stop, hold.
Yes.
Okay, proceed. But Guy Ritchie's directing this film, and he definitely has his fingerprints over a lot of the movie.
Yes, I appreciate the first take on the legend. I'm not like a purist in any sense. People are like, oh, you're bastardizing the original origin story. That's not the King Arthur story. I'm like, well, so what? We can't tell the same story over and over and over again. You got to change it up a little bit.
I completely agree with you on that. And it's probably not good that we agree on that. But I'm not some conventionalist.
I'm not a conventionalist either. But I didn't necessarily love what they did with the story in this one either. It's kind of like a half Robin Hood, a half King Arthur, and in some moments this was like a rags to riches tale, and some moments it was like a fast-paced, British gangster comedy because he tried to use that style that he used in Lock, Stock. In some moments it was just an epic action movie, so I didn't really feel like a consistent tone. Like, it was so jarring going, with the beginning opening fight scene, which is just epic, and I actually really liked it. And then you go and they have a montage of Arthur growing up, and then his uncle going into power, and then it slows down again, and it's just so like back and forth, fast-paced, slow-paced, fast-paced, slow-paced. Like, it jarred me. I did not like that about it.
Oh, you did not enjoy that? Because I actually,
you
on
did
the
like
opposite,
that.
I did.
Really?
At least in the beginning, where I enjoyed having a fast, sped-up montage of him growing up, and I thought it actually worked out rather well, of having a consistent him adding I believe the phrase was coins to his coffers.
Yeah.
And you continually see this boy getting beat down until one day grabs a punch and is no longer being beat down. And you kind of realize it wasn't unclear who this was. It was really narrating a story visually.
Yeah, which is cool. Visual storytelling, montage storytelling is cool.
That was and it succeeded. Sometimes you can commend a director or whoever's in charge of, you know what, let's narrate through visual. I enjoy us not having to read out, like unfortunately like it did in the beginning of back in the beginning there were mages.
The Mage Mordred took all the power. He marched on the castle.
Yeah, for me, I enjoyed that they were able to fast forward and narrate through telling a story, and I can really appreciate that. Going to the beginning, however, that first opening scene was unnecessary. It was a pad time scene.
I was like, I was loving that first scene. I was like, oh my god, what is happening?
Well, that's what it satisfied, right? So because there was a long pause before more action happened again.
Just giant elephants, like
huge elephants,
and just dudes getting incinerated by like this mage, and then the king like jumps off the bridge. Like, I love just cheesy action scenes.
No, it was pure action just for action. Yeah. I give it that, and I realized that was its purpose, was to, you go to see this quote-unquote action film, and you're like, there's nothing, because past that, there's not a whole lot of action that spurns on for the rest of the film until
that's the thing. It didn't
really know
battle. What it was. It wasn't like an action, because that first scene reminded me a lot of like 300, which like 300 is of course an action movie. The whole thing is an action movie, but this movie jumps back and forth between like the comedy, the action, the origin story of King Arthur, and that's where and
they had no respect for horses in this one. I mean,
I was
at first my actual first note of this movie, and for any animal lovers out there, take notes. Why but my first note was, "F you horse?" ? Because the King Irvin, or whatever his name is, King Uther
Pendragon.
Uther Pendragon. He essentially runs this. He does the equivalent of driving off the bridge and then jumping from the car, except the car is a horse.
Yeah,
and so the horse is just dropping 80 feet above the air.
Realize it. Like he left the horse, and then I was like, wait a second.
Where's that horse?
Where's the horse? Oh no! It fell into the.
And they were very smartly did not pan down to the horse falling, because they were like, okay, we're gonna have to forgive this at some point.
I saw so many horses get incinerated,
and then there were a lot of horse deaths. So I mean, again, that's a weird sidetrack that we get on there, but it's true that there were a lot of horses.
We have to get a horse death counter for this, because it was just egregious.
I know. I'm not any animal rights activist, but I was very much so. It was enough to where my first note is, "F you horse." Like, wow, they really did not respect the "no animals shall be harmed in the making of this movie" mantra. Then Londinium, that just for me had a weird, like, if you're going to semi-modernize, the story, just go full on. Don't say. I've always had this problem with old Shakespearean text. If you do No Fear Shakespeare version, why can't we update the name so that way it's not just old names that we have no. You're always like, okay, who was that? Just make Hamlet.
Greg,
and then make Juliet Beyonce. At least just something to where it's like you can actually relate to them.
The Tale of Mark and Beyonce.
So Londinium, I had a problem with, and the problem with doing an origin story and not sticking to that script is you have to show us that distinction of where you're sticking to the script and where you're going to be original from. There has to be a clear lineation of, okay, we'll put, let's say, let's make sure that if we're going to be doing Batman film, except in this one he's a bad guy, let's make sure that we at least put him as Batman and he's still in Gotham. And so they kind of did that with Londinium and Arthur. But other than that, I was just very much confused as to, like, okay, so where's Merlin? I have no sense of familiarity here because Arthur's a kid, so I mean I don't even have that attached to it. Maybe the diehard Arthur fans who really had a problem with the storyline.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, if you can change an origin story and a plot, like there's no rules against that, but like it didn't work for me all the way. I was like, wait, is he Robin Hood? Is this King Arthur? But this is really weird. He's in the Darklands now. He's fighting dragons. What's going on?
So my biggest note was that in the beginning it was a big huddled mess, and I can see where that 27% really sunk in, because for me it did not set up the story well. And to be fully honest, I think you could have chopped up until, do a Moses motif of a baby just going up in the,
and that too. I was like, is this Prince of Egypt?
Yeah.
What's going on now?
And I think you start there, and it has a much clearer beginning, and especially if you're going to have all those flashbacks. I mean, what was the point of us sitting?
I like that opening scene. Okay, that is an awesome, epic opening.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
And then his mom gets killed by some demon shadow. I was like, what? This is so cool.
With the spear of darkness.
Shadow spear at her. I was like, okay, if this is gonna keep happening, I felt bad. I turned to my girlfriend Maddie and I was like, I feel really bad, but I'm digging this opening scene. And then it really took a big for me after that.
And see, after that, it did a big
for you. That's so
because
weird.
after that, I just really, really enjoyed Guy Ritchie's visual direction of this movie. Just really. I felt like I was just eating Cool Whip the whole time. I know it's not good. I know it's not going to be filling me. But in the moment, I'm just like, give me some more. Give me some more. Because when they have that weird Ursula half octopus monster, that was like truly disgusting me out through a visual, audio, and sensual feeling of just like being like, I could hear like the suction of like... And then, I know. Go see the movie if you want to get truly creeped out, or just be creeped out by us reciprocating. However, them being able to do that and create that darkness, I really love the color contrast in this film of Arthur mostly being in white.
Yeah.
You can see in terms of turmoil.
Color motifs.
Yes, in terms of turmoil, he gets a little bit dirtier, and it really shows through. And for Jude Law's character,
Jude Law was great. I love Jude Law. He's a good villain.
I actually didn't realize how good of a villain he is. Has he been a villain in anything else? In this one, I felt like he proved himself to be a good villain because he was totally serviceable. Again, how many times... I mean, we can talk about this time after time, but
Time after time.
I will catch you. Any good hero movie needs a good villain.
Yeah,
and he was totally...
Sinister, he wasn't empathetic, but I hated his guts.
Oh, yes.
And Jude Law's just a classical English actor, and those guys that, when you have Jude Law, Benedict Cumberbatch, they can bring so much, I don't know, just class.
Depth. I thought that there was a fair amount of depth where he says to that Ursula character, have I not sacrificed enough? You can see where at some point it's an honorous and virtuoso. He has a dark fuel driving him, but he does have a somewhat good notion of I know that this is bad, and I know I've given so much.
He got
I'm
too
just
far
numb.
in.
Yes,
man, you were too far in. You come back out of that.
He just wanted to be in charge, and
his character was great. The character of King Arthur was great, but one of my biggest problems was
all the flashbacks. There were 7 of them.
The flashbacks, but all of the side characters were so thinly written. They were mere plot devices instead of characters. Jimon Hansu's character, the mage character, all of Arthur's friends. They were all there just to push Arthur's story forward, not necessarily to add anything of great depth. Just to be we need to get Arthur to become king, so we're going to put these characters there to push him.
Let's be honest with it. Even the ending would suggest a sequel. I don't think that's giving anything away.
After the box office numbers, though.
That's true. It did go. It did go number 3. It only earned $15.4 million after Universal sunk $100 into it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what, have $150 million budget? It might not even make its budget back. That is awesome. But apparently, it was supposed to be released last year, and they kept on pushing it back and back and back and back, and they released it almost a year later.
Not a good sign. Never a good sign.
Nope.
But I'm glad that so in contrast to you, I'll be the King Arthur of this show. I really did enjoy this show. This movie, the show. Well, I am enjoying the show, but this movie I enjoyed as well. I I can't say... It's weird. I have a weird relationship with Charlie Hunnam because I find myself liking him more. I'm not like falling in love where it's like Leonardo DiCaprio and you're like, this is just greatness. I will go see pretty much really anything Leonardo DiCaprio's in.
On the horizon for Charlie Hunnam. He's gonna be around for a long time. For sure.
It started to make me think, like, I wonder what he will be up for in the future. Yes. Could he be the next James Bond?
Ooh, he'd be a good... Oh, because he'd bring like a youthful, kind of cynical...
And he'd be blonde. I mean, of course, we've had
James Blonde.
James Blonde.
I would love to see Idris Elba as James Bond.
That's the other one that I'm kind of interested in. Yeah. I would enjoy Idris Elba as the first black James Bond.
I mean, why not? James Bond has been a white man for 50 years.
They've also kicked around the idea of it being a woman.
Jane Bond, yeah. Emily Blunt as Jane Bond, I wouldn't mind. I don't know. If you create like a whole new, maybe throw in I don't know how they would do that, but if they did it right, I would be down for it.
Well, I mean, I certainly see now, especially, going to see this movie, I saw the commercial for Atomic Blonde with Charlize Theron.
Oh, it looks like the female version of Jason Bourne, which is great. We're going to review that one for sure.
Yeah, I certainly am looking forward to that. And everybody's saying that it's going to be probably one of the big movies of this summer. Yeah. And we are getting into summer, so...
Let me throw something...
Yes, so let's go back to the movie.
That I just realized, it's... Alright, ding ding ding, Suicide Squad vibes! Ding ding ding
what?
Ding ding. Gary has a suit... Just because there's one tick that I don't like, the visuals, like the CGI that they did... kind of to me harkens with the video gamey look that all those DC movies have.
Like when they had a lot of freeze frames and he's kind of going super fast.
Yeah, all the slow motion, like it looks like a video game, and those visuals, that's what they try to use for Suicide Squad. They don't really, I don't think, go well on screen. If you're playing a game like Assassin's Creed, it's really cool, but when you're watching it, you're like... It makes me feel weird.
You're fully aware that they're fake.
Yeah, it's not like cool fake like how 300 was. It's just kind of a weird, like I said, video game look that I don't like. That is a tick that I don't like.
Of course, but the look that I did think that he successfully achieved when they're running away from the guards.
I was going to say, that is my favorite scene in the movie. That whole chase scene was really great.
I fully was invested in there, where I'm like... Me too. And even that music that they had, they were kind of playing it towards like... Yeah. They just had Megan Fox, without her inhaler, just doing the backup vocals, because anytime Megan Fox is on screen, she's breathing... Teenage turtles?
Turtles?
Yeah.
I don't know why she's a...
Yeah, that was your worst one ever. I am
Megan Fox from Teenage Mutant Turtles.
Megan Fox is as gorgeous as she is. She would not get any roles if that's how she sounded.
But I was gonna add that little chase montage.
It's edited perfectly.
Cool. Yes,
the way that the cameras are set up on directly their faces as they're running
on their shoulders. I was like, what is happening? That looks cool. Guy Ritchie, I mean, he's got such a crazy and sporadic and visually awesome way of filmmaking that I don't know if it worked for like a medieval legend, but it works great for British gangster movies for sure. I didn't like.
So maybe just stick in your lane.
Just
Guy Ritchie.
Go make another British Pulp Fiction. Do it again.
Go do you.
King Arthur is not your thing, man. Good try.
And I thought that they had a lot of social undertones to this. When the king, again, Jude Law's character, when he is being bowed to, respected, and Arthur's being brought forth before the crowd, and they all hail to their king. To me, it had a very Nazi feel to it.
They were all like doing the Sieg Heil Nazi salute. I saw that and I was like, wait, is that supposed to look exactly like a Nazi salute? Because that's what that is. Are they implying that it was...
I mean, I don't hate that. I mean, if anything, that's a way to convey your message of evil.
Because, in the beginning, they started rounding up and killing all the mages. Maybe that was supposed to be like a Holocaust metaphor. That actually just kind of clicked in my head. It didn't click for me in the film, but they did Nazi salutes and they killed an entire race of people.
And they were very dark. I mean,
they were all clad in black.
Power gloves that Jude Law had, were those not the sickest things that...
Yeah. And then he had like an eagle on his shoulder on his on
biting
his
his neck. Like, it was really... Jude Law had probably the best wardrobe I've seen as far as villains this year.
Dark villain.
Oh, he had an excellent array of costumes available to him.
Yes.
And I thought that his emotions were appropriate. And honestly, I just really enjoyed this movie. So, going back and forth on this movie, would you see it again?
Probably not.
But you would
okay.
watch the beginning.
I would watch the beginning scene.
Oh my gosh.
That beginning scene was so great. It gave me like butterflies. I was like, oh, there's elephants. Oh my god, the king is riding to the elephant.
You know why you liked it? It has a very Lord of the Rings
because they stole it from Lord of the Rings. Because
I just figured it out.
Of course.
Figured it out.
Phil, come on. They stole that part from Lord of the Rings for sure. But I mean, they put a little. I mean, I thought it was cool. They had like mages in the top of the elephants.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely was like, this is very Lord of the Ringsy, but it was cool in itself. I thought that it was okay. I didn't think it was terrible. It was just kind of a forgettable addition. I don't think that when people talk about like the great King Arthur movies, like Excalibur or Monty Python for the Holy Grail, those are like the great King Arthur movies.
Is that considered one of the best King Arthur movies?
I think so.
I don't think that's one of the
movie.
That's not.
I don't think that we're gonna talk about this.
I'm King Arthur, King of the Britons.
King of the Britons. Oh, who made you king? I didn't know we had a king.
That's not one of the best King Arthur movies.
It is the best King Arthur movie. No, it's a King Arthur movie.
It's a standalone movie. It's almost like saying...
it's as much of a King Arthur movie as this one was because they both take the story and just twist it up.
I mean, it held pretty true to what the origin story is. I mean, if you've ever read all the sagas and legends of Arthur, it's actually pretty expansive. It's not just him getting in a sword and a stone.
It stinks because I don't think that anyone has ever actually got the Arthur story right. And no one has done like a perfect, like awesome screen adaptation that does justice to the legends.
Growing up, I know Kevin Costner did a pretty. Oh no, wait, that's Robin Hood. I meant who's the original? No, the original James Bond.
Oh, Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
Did he do a King Arthur?
He did do a King Arthur.
Like an old classical.
And it's him and Richard Gere, and it's called King Arthur, and I believe Richard Gere was Lancelot, and it takes place as Sean Connery is.
Sean Connery
is the original is King Arthur.
Arthur, Pendragon. Give me Excalibur, Trebek.
Yes, and he plays an older one. I thought that it was a very serviceable King Arthur. However, it's very outdated now.
Yes.
It's very boring.
That's what happens with those old British medieval period pieces.
Very dramatically, just well. I mean, but it's just a solid 5. Okay, so speaking of ratings.
Okay.
Speaking of ratings.
All right.
What would you rate this movie on your Netflix Rotten Tomatoes score? What? Actually, those are two separate things because one's either stars or one's a number.
If we're going with they're out of 100s here, I would plan it at a 61. I would give it a 61 because
far too little.
I think it's right on the money because 6 out of 10 means okay, maybe slightly better than just rotten. It was like I watched it. I enjoyed it for the most part, but there were a lot of tropes like the characters and the pacing and the weirdness that I didn't like.
It gets a 77 for me.
77.
And the reason why, and I'll tell you why you're so wrong, is because for one, it had Djimon Hounsou. Djimon
Hounsou was so underused. He's such a great guy.
He's always underused, Gary. He just acts his butt off.
He does.
No matter what it is. And
he had the most inconsequential lines, and he acted the crap out of them.
He is such a great actor.
I love that man, for sure.
Hopefully, I hope at some point he gets, I don't even know, his own Marvel movie or something.
Ooh.
Yeah.
He could have been
Jude Law definitely acts his butt off. When they're having that tense moment of the son walks in on his father being interrogated, Jude Law does some of his best work there. For when he's threatening to torture
he's
him.
ripping off his ear and then he speaks into the air. That was cool.
I really enjoyed a lot of what Jude Law did. Normally I don't appreciate what Jude Law does.
That was a great moment. The movie had great moments, but they weren't tied together. They were all individual.
But okay, so let me at least offer you this. What if they are planning for a sequel? All right, and so that's the one that they're going to have an already established King Arthur character, or at least so in their mind they're planning for it. You're coming at me like no, they're not. But if they are planning for a sequel, if they were, they're like, you know what, we really have to have a true King Arthur. Like, we have to make sure that he's legitimate and he's the full story of this King Arthur. Because, truthfully, if you read the rest of the King Arthur legends and saga, which I did as a kid, they're not always primarily just about King Arthur. It's also about the knights. Yeah. It's not always, like, King Arthur, as much as he's associated with it, it's his namesake. It's not all about King Arthur, and there are actually a lot of outside missions and quests, and actually Lancelot, because he wasn't in this one, but shows up.
I noticed that. I was like, "Where's Lancelot?"
Yes, so I'm assuming, and it pretty much led itself to have a sequel. But if they're doing that, then the next one could be more of an ensemble movie, and not just directly a building up of the legend of King Arthur. That this one, I think, was trying to do. It was almost of the mold of just setting a good foundation.
It wouldn't surprise me because Warner Bros. Is trying to get some like franchises going.
Something that could be with Disney, because Disney has freaking everything: Star Wars, Marvel,
Pirates, all this stuff.
Although they say that it's the last one.
They're just gonna make those movies until Johnny
I think that they're gonna find some character. Somebody's gonna sell out, and it's gonna be somebody's gonna say, you know what. I was on the second Pirates of the Caribbean. I was one of those two guys, the one with the no eyeball and the other guy.
I love those guys.
They're probably going to sell out.
Telling the story.
Parlay.
Did you say parlay? Parlay.
Parlay. So anyways, they've got a lot of franchises. Warner has to compete.
Yes.
Universal Studios.
It wouldn't surprise me if they're planning on it, but after the box office atrocity that occurred last weekend, any plans will probably get put on hold for a little bit.
And does this reflect badly on any of the actors who were in it? Because to me, again, I thought it was a completely serviceable movie. I enjoyed a lot of the acting performances. What a lot of us discredit for it is the storyline and maybe even some of those deeper fight scenes of slow-mo and video games.
Yes.
So does that negatively affect any of the actors who chose to be in it as like a career arc? Does Charlie Hunnam now not deserve leading man material?
I think that he was still a great leading man. I think it's not going to be like a standout in his career when it comes to it, but I think he did a fine job being a very watchable and enjoyable character.
What? If this is the black mark on his career, God bless him.
He's gonna have a great career.
Because really, sure. I mean, if
everyone does bad,
everybody else gets bad movies. I mean, you look at Leonardo DiCaprio, J. Edgar. That is a snooze fest.
Yes.
We look at George Clooney, Batman and Robin. That was.
Oh yes.
That is just awful.
Yes. Every leading man has had a bad movie. Chris Pratt had Passengers, just last year.
Well, to you, every Chris Pratt movie is a bad movie. But it's all right. No. I will defend you, Chris Pratt, till the end. Do not worry. I am your guardian of your galaxy. Bad. That actually sounds really, really like I'm coming onto him.
That was beautiful, actually. I think he'd like that.
Maybe it'd be like a little bit of a poet.
I could guard your galaxy, Christopher.
I wonder how many women have told him that, and he's like, no, I'm married. I'm married. All right, so. I wrote my Give Me 5 Questions minutes before I came over here.
Yes, seconds before the podcast was on air. He was writing his questions.
I've never been that unprepared, but I assure you, quality.
It's a good one.
They are great.
Let's do it.
Let's go. Time for some personal rejuvenation? Visit Aquarius Salon's award-winning stylists and get ready for summer. They do color, cuts, and highlights for your everyday wear, as well as services for proms, weddings, or any special events you have scheduled. Visit Aquarius on the northeast corner of Bell and 51st. Call 602-978-1774 for your appointment. Again, that's 602-978-1774 on the northeast corner of Bell and 51st. And tell them Philip from Chopped Green sent you. Yes, there we go. Doesn't really go with our music, but it goes with the King Arthur music. Yes. So there we go. Gary, it is your birthday.
It is my birthday.
Happy 21st birthday. I knew it was 21st, but I was trying to think of how I would state it. I was trying to think, do you want to do 21 questions now? But no.
Give me 21.
Give me 21. Does not sound nearly as nice as give me 5, but I will, as a birthday present to you, let you go first.
Thank you. That's the best present I've ever gotten.
Oh, well, of course. You're welcome.
As usual, I like my first question to kind of tie into the movie.
Okay.
So obviously this movie bombed at the box office. Regardless of how much we liked it or didn't like it, the money didn't like it. It crashed and burned at the box office. And there haven't been really any great medieval movies to make a crap ton of money at the box office since maybe like Lord of the Rings, right? So I just want to ask you, and maybe it's because on HBO they have Game of Thrones. And there's Vikings and there's shows that are doing really, really well that are fantasy and medieval. But as far as movies go, it hasn't really worked for Hollywood since like the classical medieval movies. So are medieval movies done for in Hollywood? Because people just aren't seeing them.
Well, I think everything's cyclical. I know when the first commercials came out for this particular movie, I was not enthused. I was very, very tentative. For me, it was a coin flip as far as, full disclosure. This week, I was like, which movie do you want to do, Gary? And you're like, let's go see King Arthur. It looks good. I was like, there's nothing else on, I guess But if there was anything else, I would not have seen it.
Yeah.
But, that being said, once I did go see it, it was actually very well done. So, in answer to your question directly, I think just how the movie musical had a fad for 10 years. And now it's slowly now not really there anymore. Maybe one a year, but that's about it. Whereas before it was like Footloose, Rock of Ages, all the Hairspray. Yeah. I think it's all cyclical. It'll come back. There will be another Shakespeare in Love. There will be another... just build on it. And really, everybody I think right now we're in sequel season. And remakes. And, of course, superhero movies. Mm-hmm. Like, once those somehow die out, when those jump the shark, everything else will come back. It'll be restored.
Yes.
I don't think...
Bring balance to the cinematic
to the false. Yes. All right. Gary, Steve Harvey, still a great night.
I love Steve Harvey.
Has caused his second ex-wife much more than mental anguish. According to a new lawsuit she's filed, he damaged her soul and now owes her $60 million. Mary Harvey and Steve's infamously bitter divorce was finalized back in 2005, but according to docs filed Wednesday, Mary's still feeling a slew of ill effects from their battle. She says she's been suicidal and self-medicates to cope with their nasty breakup. Gary, does Mary have a case here? Does she indeed deserve $60 million for his stealing of her soul? Or is this all just legal mumbo-jumbo?
Sounds like some legal mumbo-jumbo to me. That's really weird. So I'm really confused as to where there would be any basis of like, I'm really upset. And I get breakups are hard, and people do get suicidal over breakups, but that doesn't mean that you get $60 million. Maybe he pays for therapy and gives her a small sum of money, but $60 million.
I think
that's insane.
A lot of the times when these initial lawsuits come out, they know that they're not going to get their initial asking price, so they double it, or even quadruple it, so that way when somebody does come in and they, adjudicate, no, that's way too expensive, but we'll give you $15 million.
We'll give you 10 or 15.
Yeah, but if they'd have asked for 10 or 15 million to begin with, they would have only been more.
And also, that happened nine years ago. So
that's true. And it's his second ex-wife. I think you have
Steve Harvey's taking names, man. What the heck?
He's giving out his last name as well. But no, if it was his first wife, I'd say that she has more of a case, because really I think your first wife, or your only wife, depending on what happens, but
it's divorce.
But if you only have your first wife and it's her divorce, and it's that person really helped you become the person that you are and helped to really give you a solid foundation and was a real reason of why you became that full net worth of who you are. You have a claim to some of that money because, a lot of women give themselves to help and better the other person, to be the mother or to do whatever, and they are entitled to some of that money. I'm not seeing it, Mary. Mary, go
find Ryan Seacrest.
Go find Ryan Seacrest. All right, your turn, Gary.
All right, so 2 famous people died the past few days. Lead singer of Soundgarden.
Yes.
God bless his soul. Great band, great singer.
I was going to ask you before the show, who is that?
So Soundgarden is a really awesome like 90s grunge band, kind of right below the level of Nirvana and Pearl Jam.
Oh.
They made like a lot of like kind of indie grunge music in the 90s. They were really big like in Seattle, and he had like a crazy like 4-octave voice, and he just hung himself actually yesterday. Very sad.
Well, then that
big
is very
in the
sad.
grunge community is very sad times. Also, the bigwig over at Fox News, Roger Ailes.
Oh, yes.
The guy who's... So you and I talked about Bill O'Reilly a few weeks ago, right? And remember how we were like, oh, his fans will, keep him on the show. And then like 2 weeks later, he got booted out.
Uh-huh.
And one of the reasons why was because this man, Roger Ailes, had covered up a lot of these sexual harassment lawsuits. And he just died. He was like the guy who made Fox News what it is. So now that they kind of have... The head has been cut off at Fox News, and we're in such a revolutionary time.
Mm-hmm.
What is going to happen to Fox News?
What is going to happen to Fox News?
Yes.
I think he left behind a very stable legacy. It's got a strong brand. It really doesn't have any other competitors as far as conservative
it hits
view.
its customer base right on the money, and it's very successful. But it's successful because of him. He kind of orchestrated it,
Well, you can be the founder, the sole reason why it goes up, but as long as you maintain its level and you're not, constantly firing somebody, look at the NBA with David Stern.
Or Apple, Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
I paid $700 for this stupid phone.
So maybe they're not, escalating or multiplying to the level where Steve Jobs did, where they're always continuously growing. Now they're modestly growing or staying pat. Doesn't mean that they're not going to crumble and fall to the ground just because their founder or who the inclinator of whoever brought them their brand awareness dies. I think that they stay pretty well in pretty good shape. Alex Rodriguez, the notorious Yankees baseball star, is set to make his broadcasting debut in the booth Thursday during the Yankees-Royals game. Unfortunately, during his pregame routine, someone with a camera took a picture of him reviewing his notes that he had transcribed for the game, and on the journal was the following list. All right, follow me here.
Okay.
Child. And then goes to birth control, baby, pull-out stuff.
He wrote that in his notes?
Child.
Birth control?
Like semicolon. Birth control, baby, pull-out stuff. Gary, my question to you is, what on earth does this mean? And do you think this was for the baseball game or his plans after the game?
I like that he has to write it down to remind himself, if I have a child, he will start out as a baby, but not if I have birth control or do the pull-out stuff. He couldn't have been waiting to talk about a player on air or something about that. So that's got to be something.
That's got to
really
be a personal to-do list.
I
here's my theory. Here's my crazy madman theory. It's been long time rumored, and she just confirmed it. But J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez,
Jennifer Lopez,
J-Lo, Jenny from the Block, and Alex Rodriguez are dating now.
And he doesn't want to knock her up, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Or he's saying, if I do the pull-out stuff, she will be knocked up, which is what I want.
So either that, or if they're having conversations behind closed doors about having a baby.
We'll see what happens in the next few months.
Yeah, I know. I want to see what J-Lo says about this birth control, and why is it on his list?
That is golden.
That's
that is
crazy.
So funny.
I thought you might enjoy it. I told you I have some great Give Me Five today. Your turn.
So the CDC, Center for Disease Control, says that a diarrhea-inducing parasite is on the rise in United States public pools. By simply opening your mouth and ingesting just one tiny parasite in a public pool, adults and children alike can experience up to 3 weeks of stomach cramps, diarrhea, puking.
I experience that on a daily basis. Continue.
Wow. My next question is, are you a cause of gross things in public pools? Basically, my question for you is, do you pee in the pool, Phil?
Oh.
Do you pee in the pool?
It's funny that you asked this. I believe we've asked this on the Chopped Green podcast before. Have we not?
Have we asked?
I believe I asked you.
You asked
yes,
me.
Yes, I did.
That was our
first episode.
Oh my god!
It has come full circle.
Full.
Thank you, Tom Hanks. Thank you, Tom Hanks.
All right, Phil, well, do you pee?
But now I get to answer. Yes. Yes, I do. The world is my urinal, and That's not to say I own the world. It just means let's live free.
Let a man pee where he wants.
Let anybody pee where they want.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be man, woman, dog.
Spread them and pee.
Yeah, spread them and pee. I mean, get some coverage. Go in a bush or something to cover stuff.
Now, I mean, you could be contributing to a diarrhea-inducing parasite. So maybe you should think twice about your actions, Philip Amerine.
Well, I will say, while I am for public urination, I am not for public pools.
And also maybe just learn how to swim and don't drink the pool water.
That's true.
People going,
What do you think the ocean is? How is that thing not fully a death hazard right there?
Because there's salt.
Everybody.
I don't know how that works.
All right. As a fun social experiment, two gentlemen decided to leave thousands of coins from a former art installation in a pile on the sidewalk and see how many people would interact with the random occurrence. Some people liked to take photos and play with the pile of money. Others needed some change for their coffee and took some of it. And then there was one gentleman who picked up a pile in both hands and proceeded to shower the coins upon his body, making it rain like there was no tomorrow. Gary, what would you do if you came across $100 worth of pennies on the floor?
Pennies, that would... Okay, so the coin.
So it's very modest. I mean, it's
hilarious.
Yes, I know.
I think I would probably, because I'm such a great guy, be like, did someone drop coins over here?
$100 worth of coins.
Did anybody drop coins? Because I don't want to pick that up and carry it around, honestly.
That's the thing, is it's so much and for so little that it's not worth it to just take...
If I had some kind of apparatus, a backpack, I might try to shovel some in there. But otherwise, I'd probably look at it and chuckle, maybe pick up a penny, flick it in my hand, drop it on the ground, and leave it for someone who needs it more than me.
Oh, well, that's very noble.
And also maybe toss them in the air and play with it, just because playing with money is fun.
There you go.
If it's not your money.
If it's not your money, that's exactly correct. Your turn, sir.
So, big news in the NBA draft this week.
Oh.
The Celtics got the number 1 pick, and they're also the number 1 seed in the East. Not going to make it to the finals, but... They've had a very successful season, and they just had even more success in that draft.
Speaking of success, we are talking to the current top champ of the bet standings.
The leader of our NBA playoffs bracket is
only by a point,
Charlie.
though. And then Luke's way far behind with 9 points.
Yeah,
but anyways, I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
So, the Celtics kind of have a missing piece in their lineup. A lot of people think it's Mr. James Butler from the Chicago Bulls. Do you think that they keep that number 1 pick? Or do they trade it and try to get someone like Jimmy Butler, Gordon Hayward, someone of that caliber to come to their team?
It's really an interesting question because it's what would I do or what do I think that they'll do? Because if I'm them, I probably am in win now territory, so I probably trade for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
But if it's me, honestly, I can't see getting past LeBron anytime soon.
Yeah.
I would try and maybe trade Isaiah Thomas, trade Al Horford.
Trade Isaiah. He's their new guy. He's the guy.
Yeah, get rid of him. Get a new number 1 pick. Let's get Markel Fultz. Let's get some. Lonzo. There you go. Lonzo and LeVar.
Get Lonzo.
There you go. That's what I do. So if I'm them, I probably trade for a proven commodity. Hopefully, you get a combo of Gordon Hayward and Jimmy Butler. I don't know.
That would be sick.
That would be an interesting team. Let's see. During his show in Oklahoma City, Travis Scott performed his track Goosebumps 14 times in a row. This is, of course, that song. I get those goosebumps every time.
Oh, yes. He played that 14 times.
14 times in a row he performed it, beating a record previously held by Jay-Z and Kanye by 2. The previous record was held by Jay-Z and Kanye when they performed People in Paris, I think is the correct way that I can say that. 12 times while in Paris in 2012. Gary, is this at all impressive to you? Is anyone even still remotely interested by the 8th time he sings this? And which, if any, world records do you think you would have a shot at?
Alright, part 1. If I bought a ticket to a concert, I don't care about your world record, don't play a freaking song 14 times. I want my money's worth. Play some diverse track.
I don't even think I could listen to a regular musical track of a song that I like 14 times in a row.
I once saw the 21
If I really
Pilots.
like it, 6 times is my max.
Yeah, and then I thought, you just gotta move on. 14, that's more than twice that. And I once saw 21
Very
Pilots.
good mathematical skills there, Gary.
Thank you. 2.2 or something. John Bellion opened for them, and he plays that song low, 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 low,
I don't know that song.
He did it for like 8 minutes, just a low, 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 and he just danced on the stage. He was like, yeah, come on, clap your hands for like 10 minutes. That was their opener. It was so dumb. So that's very annoying. But also, there's actually a world record. It is the most sticky notes you can put on your face in 1 minute. The record is 58. I think I could beat that record.
Is that something you aim to do?
Yes, we should do it on the show. Can I put more than 58 sticky notes on my face in 1 minute?
I think that is a totally
That's
doable
so doable.
thing.
I mean, come on. We gotta get Guinness in here, and we'll get ourselves in the record books.
I wonder what the method is. Do you have to, is the procedure you have to grab it from the
You have to grab it from the stack, peel it, smack it on your face, and you can't put any on your eyelids for some reason, directly in your eyelids, but otherwise you have to put them all in there in a minute.
I will say it disturbs me how much you know about this record without me even having prepped you for this question whatsoever.
I don't know why.
This is all off the cuff.
But it's a real thing.
All right. Yeah, that sounds like a real episode right there.
We're going to do it.
All right. Your turn.
This is a hot Colin Cowherd debate.
Hot take.
Topic. Hot take.
Hot off the stove.
So,
Ding.
In the Eastern Conference, we have Isaiah Thomas.
Of course.
We have Kyrie Irving.
Of course.
We have John Wall. We have a lot of good, gritty point guards in the East.
That is true.
But who is truly the best point guard in the East right now?
In the East right now?
Yes, who's the best point guard? Is it... Because Kyrie, when he was the leader of the Cavs before LeBron came back, it was just all right. John Wall has really made a name for himself. And Isaiah, is 5'9" and is killing it, breaking records, taking names. Who's the best overall player, do you think, just by themselves, out of those three?
I don't even know, because there's Rajon. Oh, well, it has to be out of those three because...
I don't think anyone else comes close to them. I mean,
there's Goran. There's Goran Dragic, maybe.
He's not as good as them. There's Kyle Lowry, who comes close.
Kyle Lowry, who comes pretty close. I'm trying to think about the... Oh, come on, man. Jeremy Lin.
Hey, I love myself some Lin. Don't even sarcastically bring him up. I love him.
There's Reggie Jackson. All right, so really just...
Wall, Irving, and...
Dragic. Out of respect. Put some respect on that man's name. All right, but it really is John Wall, though.
I think so, too.
Even though he came up pretty small in a couple games there in the playoffs.
Yeah, he came up pretty large.
He also had some, with that stone cold, no cares given, 3 to win Game 6.
Oh, yeah.
Saw that live. That was unbelievable,
yes.
Unfathomable on how just much of a beast he was for that. And then he just did the stone cold, serious look of just doesn't affect me whatsoever. Let's get on defense. Right. It was a beautiful thing to watch. I enjoyed it so much. I'd have to say John Wall. Kyle Lowry is just I'd even put him below Goran Dragic. I am so off the Kyle Lowry train.
Wow.
I might even put Reggie Jackson. I am just...
Oh, my goodness.
Kyle Lowry, what good is he if he's no good in the playoffs? I can even make up the argument of, who needs a guy, but you need a really good closer. Forget it. I like the guy who can, get you so far ahead that you don't need a closer. Yeah. But it's a different thing entirely if the entire game you're just garbage. So that's been my...
I guess he's your Chris Pratt.
Yes. But except I don't care that you guard him for me. Because he has no defense himself. All right, Matthew McConaughey is to star in the spiritual sequel to Spring Breakers. Yes, he is set to play a stoner named Moondog, and Harmony Korine will return to direct. Not much else is known about the movie other than the title is The Beach Bum. Yes, so this is all to say, Gary, I've got a list of 10 sequels. I want you to tell me if there are 10 movies that have or have not had sequels. And I want you to tell me if they do indeed have a sequel, that is directly correlated off of the movie, or if I just made it up and they do not have a sequel.
Okay.
And just as a word of warning, they have to be a reimagination of the original movie. Does not count as a sequel.
Okay, so it can't be a reboot. It's just a sequel. Yeah,
not a reboot. Just a pure sequel off the film. All right, here we go. Let's start off easy. Carrie. Was there a sequel or no sequel?
No, there's a remake, not a sequel to Carrie.
Absolutely, there is. It's called Carrie 2: The Rage.
Are you serious?
Dead serious. I know. Who would have guessed? All right, number 2, The Passion of the Christ. Sequel, no sequel.
There's a sequel in the making right now. Yes.
Well, I had false. I was not able to find that, but okay, so we will look that up after the show.
Been announced, I believe.
Okay.
It doesn't have one yet.
I just could not have imagined that there was a sequel to The Passion of the Christ when
what happens
Jesus died.
What happens after that?
So we'll have to follow up on that one later. Anyways, next up, The Aristocats.
Ooh,
Sequel or no sequel?
yes. I'm gonna say yes. There's probably one of those direct-to-DVD sequels for Aristocat.
Absolutely false. Just popped into my head.
What?
Next one, The Birds. Alfred Hitchcock. Sequel, no sequel?
No sequel.
There is a sequel,
Oh
The
my
Birds 2, Land's End, and it was so bad the director wanted his name out of the credits.
Was it Alfred Hitchcock?
It was not. It was after, thank goodness, his passing. Next one, and this is where the forewarned mentioned was, the Poseidon Adventure.
The Poseidon Adventure?
Because I know there was another movie, Poseidon, that just recently came out. But was there a direct sequel or no sequel?
No.
There was Beyond the
God.
Poseidon Adventure.
What are these? Oh.
The Blair Witch Project. Was there a sequel or no sequel?
No, there was just the new remake, but that wasn't a sequel. It was a spin-off.
There was a sequel, The Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you.
I've gotten every single one of these
Yes,
wrong.
you have. American Psycho. Sequel or no sequel?
No sequel. They did the freaking shot-for-shot remake with Vince Vaughn, but there was not a sequel.
There was. It was American Psycho 2.
Oh my God!
Starring a young, up-and-coming Mila Kunis. What? It was up in 2002, if I'm not mistaken.
What?
Old Yeller. Sequel or no sequel?
No sequel. Come on. Don't.
That there is no sequel.
Oh.
So you got one right. You're on the board.
Is that 1 for 10?
That is no. You got 2 more. You've got 2 more.
God.
Before it's the gauntlet. I knew you would like this. This one was taking me forever, and you're over there like, come on, hurry up. This was worth it. This was worth everything. All right. The Rocky Horror Picture Show. Sequel or no sequel?
Sequel.
There was. It was called Shock Treatment, and Susan Sarandon.
Yes.
Susan Sarandon was set to star in it, but then there was a contractual disagreement there, probably because they couldn't pay her.
Yes.
All right, last one, and I'm messing with you. I'm gonna be totally honest. I'm messing with you. The Talented Mr. Ripley. Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Was there a sequel or no sequel? Duh.
No sequel.
There was. It's called Ripley's Game. Matt Damon was replaced by John Malkovich in this sequel, which actually gained stronger reviews than the first. Ironically, Malkovich was originally going to direct the first film.
I hate you so much.
And then that ends the 2 for 8 all on
oh my God.
sequel game. And who knew that was going to be such a brutal
That was
mess?
I feel like I just went through 12 rounds of boxing. I just feel terrible.
Oh my
right now.
goodness. Except, to be fair, there is a mulligan on The Passion of the Christ. We'll have to research that after the show. And I think, to be fair, now as I'm recalling something, I just, in my head while I was thinking of fake movies, and it's actually hard because I'm like, what movie is there? I know that there's no possible chance that there was a remake. And then I'm like, well, oh no, that's right. They came up with a sequel, Rambo. Whatever.
Oh, there's like a million Rambos and stuff.
Yeah, So, Passion of the Christ definitely, I think, does have a sequel, but I don't think is it a direct sequel?
Maybe it's a spin-off. I know that Mel Gibson is directing something.
Something along those lines.
Okay, all right.
We'll have to look it up.
We're going to look this up.
We'll get back to you next
know.
podcast. Speaking of next podcast, we are going to watch a very hyped sequel.
Stoked. I'm actually
Alien
excited.
Covenant.
Yes.
You're stoked. I'm not.
You're not stoked? Ridley Scott's coming back.
It's
got Danny McBride in it. What could go wrong?
There's a lot that can go wrong. It's
do you not like Alien? Are you not?
No, it's not that. It's for one, at least let's go to Prometheus. I don't know if you were able to catch that one. That was the one you missed, right?
I'm gonna watch it before because I know it's a sequel to.
Okay. For me, it was a little boring.
I
More
know
so
that.
than scary. It was just boring.
Prometheus is like kind of like a love it or hate it thing from what I've heard.
To me, I didn't understand it because it didn't, for me, ring with the rest of the Alien franchise. I've seen a lot more. To be fair, I haven't seen a lot of the original Aliens recently.
Have you seen the first one?
No, I have not.
Oh, the first one, it's like one of the best horror movies ever. It's great. You gotta see it.
Okay, and I know that I've seen all the Alien versus Predator ones. I mean, for what those are worth, which is very little. So I am hesitantly kicking and screaming, being dragged to this movie, knowing that I have to, not just for you, Gary, but for the fans of chopped greens everywhere, even in Sweden. I will be watching this movie for them. For the children.
We have a fan in Sweden?
No, but I'm hoping we will get one someday. Yeah. And
Come on, Sweden.
He will be going through all these in the YouTube channels, archives, and he will be like, hey, I got a shout out.
All right, Swedish guy, we love you, man. Thank you for listening.
Swedish man in the future. If it comes to be that this movie was awful, I'm sorry that you got associated with Alien Covenant. But if it's fantastic, congratulations to you. And so next week we will be reviewing Alien Covenant.
Yes.
Later on, we've got a show with Luke coming up. So that ought to be
the loser of the bracket.
Can we call it? Is that fair to say that we can automatically call it? He's going to lose the
bracket. He is so far. But Luke, I'm sorry, man, but you're going to get waxed or something's going to happen to you soon.
Yeah. Did we ever discuss what we would do?
We haven't discussed punishment yet because whoever wins will decide.
Have you decided already what you're going to do to him?
Oh, Luke is so hairy. I got to take some hair
You're going to do wax?
yeah.
I'm dead set on nails. I am going to give him some fake nails.
Oh, yes.
So that'll be interesting. Either way, stay tuned to Chopped Greens and the page and like us on Facebook. Follow us on SoundCloud. And we also have the old episodes in case you missed anything in the past, the present, and
the future.
From the future of this episode. Boom. Make sure to catch us on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.
Goodbye.